I like you, poopy. I played a great mini games this year, and I wanted to share with you all the games that I beat outside of my Twitch stream. That's what this video is going to be all about. You may all see me on my Twitch stream, twitch.tv/BroccoClock, easy plug, play mini video games, but you might not see me play all the games that I like to play in my spare time. You see, when it comes to streaming, a lot of the games I pick are games that might be good for streaming, quote-unquote. These could often be games that I played in the past, my childhood, games that streamers have seen me play and they want to see me play it again, or games that are just generally fun for people to watch, like Among Us. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at these games that I beat this year. Two things I want to mention though. One, a lot of this video was filmed while I was working night shift, which means that I had to record it on my days off at like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning, and I was trying to whisper a little bit to be quiet, not to wake everyone up. So forgive me for the potential quietness on the microphone. The other downside to that was I couldn't be too exciting during this video because I can't really be that loud, so you'll have to forgive me for that too. And two, don't take this as a full-fledged review for any of these games. I'll say a couple of tidbits about every game on this list, but I could say much more for every single game as well. So maybe I harshly criticize the game you like. That doesn't mean that I don't have good things to say about it, it's just not meant to be that type of video. It's supposed to be a lot of my quick thoughts when I immediately think of, what kind of time did I have with this game? Was it fun? Was it super fun? Or was it shit? So on one hand, I say a lot of harsh things, but maybe hidden away, there's a ton of things I like about it. On the other hand, maybe I say a lot of really, really nice things, and there's actually a lot more I hate about it that you don't realize. They're not meant to be reviews. I'm just trying to tell you the games I beat and some of my experience was with them, and maybe even some stories surrounding them. So, without further ado, again, let's look at these games. Game number 1, Castlevania from the Castlevania Anniversary Collection on the Xbox One. What can I say about Castlevania 1 that hasn't already been said? It's a classic NES game. Despite technical limitations of 1986 in Japan is when the game came out, this game still manages to be a perfect example of great game design all around. Everything in Castlevania feels like it was put there meticulously on purpose to create a video game homage to horror that very few can beat. The enemies are just basically put in really good spots that accommodate your whip, whether it be long or short, your jump, and the special items that you can grab to be able to make the game doable yet still difficult. You have to be able to do it skillfully. Enemies could be attributed to all different types of horror without looking too generic. The music does sound spooky, but it also kind of rocks at the same time. And the colors are very nice to look at, and they do a very good job of making it feel like you're walking through an old spooky castle. My experience with Castlevania games is kind of limited. It's a series that I need to play more of, and I don't know how I haven't. I do love the series for what it is. I know what it is. I know all about it. I know the stories and everything. I've played Symphony of the Night. I've played Order of Ecclesia. I just haven't beat very many of them, so I was like, you know what? It's time. Let's start from the beginning, and we're just going to start beating Castlevania games. So yeah, I beat the first one. I will say, though, as a side note, I have had a ton of hours put into Harmony of Despair. I know it's not a traditional style Castlevania game, but I really like that one.
Let's rock, baby.
Game number 2, Devil May Cry HD Collection, originally on the 360, but I played it backwards compatible on the Xbox One. By the way, this game is the inspiration as to why I'm telling you exactly which version of the game that I played, because Devil May Cry fans will tell you there are some shit things about this HD port. But we'll get there. Devil May Cry is another one of those series that I'm like, how have I not played more of this? Once again, I've seen it, I know the story, I've heard about it, my friends love it, everyone says to play it, So when Devil May Cry 5 was announced and I thought it looked awesome, I was like, okay, I gotta start playing this series. It took me a while. I played 5 briefly, and I was just like, I want to go back and start from the beginning. I'm kind of like that, if you haven't noticed. So I go back and I start playing Devil May Cry HD Collection, specifically Devil May Cry 1 on the Xbox One, like I said. And to add more fuel to that fire, I love Bayonetta. I love Ninja Gaiden, so I was like, there's no way I'm not going to like Devil May Cry. And I was right. This is one of my favorite games that I played and beat this year. I did not 100% it or anything, like get all the health upgrades or go back and do all the challenges, but it's definitely one of the games I wanted to. I'm just a little pressed for time is all. If I had a word to describe Devil May Cry 1, I would say atmospheric. Similarly to Castlevania, this game is difficult, but not overly difficult, although I would say it's easier than Castlevania. But there are a few times in this game where it really got me. The first time I fought Nightmare, it took me like 2 hours to beat him. The story is pretty simple and quick in this one. They really throw you back into the gameplay as soon as they possibly can. You know, Devil May Cry doesn't have a bunch of like crazy lore and backstory at this point. And there are some primitive aspects with this game, but given the context of 2001, where this game helped define the 3D hack and slash genre, it stands to reason that there's going to be a little bit of bare bones to the game in certain areas. Swimming around in this game is a bitch, the combat when you're swimming isn't very interesting, and the whole camera changing thing every time you go into a new room really sucks. Now, I'm aware of the history of this game and how it was supposed to be a sequel to Resident Evil back in the day, but nonetheless, it doesn't change the fact that the whole camera thing gets really fucking annoying. Most of the time, it's not a huge deal. However, there are some parts where it's just awful. When I was trying to do this staircase timed event thing where you have to hit a button, run down the staircase, and get through the door as quick as possible, I just barely made it when I did, and it took me like 8 tries when it really shouldn't have. This is not where the challenge in the game should lie. But once again, I understand. Primitive, old, was supposed to be Resident Evil. Fucking, I'll give it a pass. Now, the last thing I'll mention, the whole HD collection port. I'm aware that these ports are not very well received on the PS3 or the Xbox 360, once again playing the backwards compatible version on the Xbox One. However, I had to choose between getting all 3 of these games on the PS2 and trying to find a way to record that, or just getting the HD collection for $20, which is what I did, having all 3 games and making it a lot more convenient for me, so that's what I went with. Now, I'm not aware of every single difference between this and the original PS2 version, but I will say this, these pre-rendered cutscenes look fucking horrible. At the end of the day, though, I suppose it got the job done. It was lazy, but I'm looking forward to playing 2, the one that everyone hates, and eventually 3 and 4, and then finally, 5. Okay, game number 3, Dead Rising 4 on the Xbox One.
Hell of a team you've assembled.
Now, this is a series I have played a fuck ton of. I love Dead Rising. I love Dead Rising 1, even with some of its flaws. I think Dead Rising 2 is the best in gameplay in the series. I love Dead Rising 2. I love Dead Rising 2 off the record. And despite what a lot of people think, I actually do really like Dead Rising 3, although maybe my least favorite of the original trilogy. But Dead Rising 4, oh man, this one was not very good in my opinion. They promised a return to the roots of the series with Frank West and Willamette and the style, but honestly, this game is nothing like Dead Rising 1. Dead Rising 1 was like quiet, atmospheric. It was very realistic feeling for a zombie game, if that makes any sense. You know, when you're just walking through like a hallway with the lights on and all you can hear is bzzz from like the vent or whatever, it's just a very real feeling. And you walk through the mall and you just hear, the little dee-dee-dee-dee music playing and whatever. Dead Rising 4 is none of that. And what is really crazy for a game that promises to be more like the original, this one between 2 off the record, and 3, and maybe even Chop Till You Drop, is like the farthest from the original. I'm going to give it this. The very first thing that impressed me was how big the mall was when I was in it. The moment I started this game, I thought, oh, this is going to be fantastic. And then things took a turn for the worse. Frank is an unlikable douchebag in this game. Not only is he selfish and out for his own motivation, but he's also trying to crack jokes all the time, and they're just not funny. He is so fucking annoying. It just feels like Frank is trying to be quirky in an already unlikable cast of characters as it is. The inventory system in this game is decent. It's not perfect, and I don't even know if I prefer it to the original, but here's the deal. The original inventory system from Dead Risings 1, 2, and 3 is not amazing. It does have a flaw. The biggest flaw is that it takes a long time to switch between items when you want a specific one, and it's like in the middle of your inventory and you want your sword, you're like, oh fucking shit, I want my sword. The way that this game works is that you have an inventory wheel for melee weapons, one for ranged weapons like guns, and one for throwables like Molotov cocktails or grenades. It's hard to describe because it more so comes down to the controls of how these inventories works, but basically X swings a melee weapon, LT like aims to shoot, and like LB throws your throwables, and it makes the controls really confusing. I never really felt like I got completely used to them. So at the end of the day, while it does make things quicker, and you can change weapons, it'll slow down time, so you don't have to do it in real time, which can be nice. It just feels like they replaced a somewhat flawed inventory system with another somewhat flawed one in its own flawed way. They're not bad, either one of them, but they were never perfect, so it's kind of like, well, if you didn't just fix it, why'd you just change it up completely? You're just going to confuse series veterans. And finally, the timer is gone, the one thing that created a sense of urgency in the series. I have heard some fans say the timer creates stress, but here's what I think you do with Dead Rising. You have the normal mode for Dead Rising fans who want to play Dead Rising, and a mode for fans who then can carelessly and freely kill zombies. Trust me, I tried to like this game. I got to 96% on the seasoned journalist achievement, and I just said fuck it, because there was a glitch not allowing me to do it, which, by the way, this game has a lot of glitches that they're not fixing. And for a game that promised to go back to the roots, this isn't it. By the way, the story sucks too. Oh, and one last thing that is consistent with the first game, I hate anything involving Frank's stupid fucking camera. I know he's a journalist, but Jesus Christ, I hate the camera shit, and it's actually worse in this game. These investigation clues, things, whatever, I fucking hate them. Get them out of the game.
It's time to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of gum.
Game number 4, Duke Nukem 20th Anniversary World Tour on the Xbox One. I love Duke Nukem 3D. I got into it when it was released on the 360 arcade. Duke Nukem 3D on the 360 arcade had these behind-the-scenes pictures about what Duke Nukem Forever would look like if it ever came out. One of the most fucking disappointing things I have ever experienced as a gamer is Duke Nukem Forever. I wanted that game to come out so bad after playing Duke Nukem 3D. I was waiting for a fantastic sequel to it in Duke Nukem Forever, but what we got was a steaming pile of one of the most disappointing fucking games I have ever played. It is a steaming pile of shit through and through. So when Gearbox utterly failed at making Duke Nukem Forever, what did they decide to do? Well, you just release Duke Nukem 3D again for the upteenth time, this time in the form of Duke Nukem 3D 20th Anniversary World Tour. It's the same Duke Nukem 3D that you know and love, with re-recorded voice lines from John St. John and an all-new campaign that is fantastic. It seriously might be my favorite out of all of the Duke Nukem campaigns. One of the coolest features about the game is the in-game commentary, where you can run through the levels, click on these little microphone icons, and you can get commentary from the original game developers, such as Randy Pitchford, Alan Blum, Richard Gray, Keith Schuler, and Roger Court. I got this game on sale for what I thought was a steal, $3, but then I realized there's one giant glaring problem. The multiplayer. It does not work. I was excited to finally play this again. So excited that when I saw it was on sale for $3, I bought a copy for me and one for 2 of my friends. Unfortunately, when I tried to play that with those friends, it didn't work. Every time we would get in the game, it would kick us out. Occasionally, we could play for about 2 or 3 minutes, but then after that, it would have a server issue. We never got to play it together, and trust me, we tried a lot. This is really unfortunate because I used to have a lot of good times goofing off in Duke Nukem 3D with my friends. It was one of the things that made the game for me. Oh, and by the way, this includes the campaign. You can't even do that together. Even if the campaign worked though, one of the most fun aspects of Duke Nukem 3D was honestly screwing around and role-playing in multiplayer. Duke Nukem has all different types of maps, everything from spaceships to retail stores to fast food joints, that it's a really easy place to roleplay and get lost in and just do stupid shit with your friends when you're bored. The worst part about it is it seems like this game is never going to get fixed. This game came out in 2016, it's 2020, and it still doesn't work. This makes my disdain for Gearbox grow even higher, a company I didn't hold in high regard in the first place. If you're looking to play Duke Nukem 3D for the first time, this is fine. It'll give you access to the campaigns, essentially. If you're a series veteran and you're looking to play the new campaign, maybe get it on sale. Other than that, I can't recommend this to anybody at all because the multiplayer being broken is just fucking ridiculous. And to be honest, with it being broken, you're missing one of the more fun aspects of Duke Nukem, being able to screw around with your friends. And once again, you can't even do co-op campaign, so it's not just the multiplayer. So buying this one, you're gonna have to go into it solo. Oh, and one last thing, I fucking hate the way that you can't instantly switch guns anymore. Number 5, Dead by Daylight on the Xbox One. This isn't a game you truly beat per se, but I decided to add it to the list because I hadn't played it before this year, and I played a ton of hours of it. Dead by Daylight is not really a scary horror game. It's extremely simple, the graphics don't look great, and some of the mechanics are janky, but I love it. Everything in this game is just enough to get the job done. It's a bit of an homage to horror character tropes as well as horror movies and video games. Some killers include Amanda from Saw, Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Freddy Krueger played by not Robert Englund, and even Pyramid Head. There's also survivors from those respective series as well. I play as Ash from The Evil Dead. The game does have its own original killers and survivors though. As a survivor, you and 3 other players try to fix generators while avoiding the killer and escape before they kill you. As a killer, well, you kill the other 4 players. Escaping as a survivor is extremely satisfying, and getting all 4 kills as a killer is also extremely satisfying. Dead by Daylight is just a very satisfying game. I highly recommend it to those who love horror, and even if you don't and want to play a game with friends, I'd still give it a shot. Just be aware of Ghostface, who can suppress his heartbeat and sneak up on you. He may legit scare the shit out of you. Game or games number 6. Halo the Master Chief Collection on Xbox One. Obviously, I've owned Halo the Master Chief Collection since day one, and boy, let me tell you, it has come a long way from being a broken game to the best Halo experience you could get to date. This is another game that's like Dead by Daylight on my list, and that I don't really beat it ever because I've already beat all these games like 700 times. As a matter of fact, the whole reason I started playing Halo MCC this year was to go achievement hunting, but much like Dead by Daylight, I put so many hours into it again this year, I decided to add it to this list. The truth is, I'll never be done playing Halo. It'll never be beat for me because I love everything about it. The campaign, the multiplayer, of course, I'm super competitive with it, everything. It was a blast playing all of these games with the updates to Halo 1 and 3 specifically, adding color customization and weapon skins for free. It's really cool to see all these additions like this years later, and I can sit comfortably knowing that if Halo Infinite ends up being a microtransaction-heavy, non-fun mess, I can always go back to the MCC and play that. Coming in with more Halo, game number 7 is Halo Wars, the Definitive Edition on Xbox One. When Halo Wars came out at the height of Halo 3's popularity, everyone hated it before they played it. Why? Because instead of jumping around going pew pew pew, you highlighted groups of people and told them to go pew pew pew. I guess the idea of a Halo RTS game didn't appeal to many of the casual gamers at the time, but the real question is, was it good? Well, the short answer is yes, but since I beat the damn game, I'm gonna give you the long answer. It cannot compare to PC RTS games, no, even back then. But console RTS games? Yes, it's a pretty good game. So if you don't have access to Civilization or StarCraft or whatever PC RTS games there are, this is a very good intro to the genre of RTS. It's also very basic. It takes just a few matches to really understand the strategies to the game, whereas Civilization can be very complex and daunting to newer players. Also, I don't give a fuck what anyone says. Halo is a great fit for an RTS game. The story in this game fits in the original Halo trilogy great, and even has some neat tidbits such as the mission that reveals a prototype for the Scarab that we would see in the main series. Now, would I like it to be more complex? Sure, especially since it's on PC now. That being said, I played this a bit when it came out and went back this year, and it even holds up nowadays decently. I couldn't convince myself to 100% it, however, and get all the achievements and such, but I definitely had a good time beating the game and going back to do some of the extras. For longtime fans of RTS games, for those who have played the more complex ones and you like those complexities, you might not be interested in this game, but if you're 1, a Halo fan, or 2, looking to get into RTS games, this is a really great place to go. The next game... we're going on 20 minutes. Well, it's going to have to be a two-parter. Hey guys, thanks for watching part 1 of the games that I beat in 2020. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, and you can also head over to my Twitch stream. I would love it if you would come watch me play video games while acting really, really stupid.